closer look at the NFC North. So two of the teams in the division, the Packers and the Bears, they were on a bye for Week 5. The Vikings got the win across the pond against the Browns. The Lions certainly got the win, 37-24 over the Bengals, moving to 4-1. And every team in this division is sitting at 500 or better. So it feels like over the last, couple seasons or so, this has been probably one of the more competitive divisions in the NFL. So, Rand, you're going to give us all the questions that you have for each team. We're starting with the Lions as they're sitting there at 4-1. And this was a team that was kind of derailed by injuries down the stretch last season, which brings us to your question. Can this team stay healthy?
Can we stay healthy?
Please.
That is the number one question. This offense is very potent. This offense can score points at will. And this defense, in my opinion, is built to play with a lead. But in order for this defense to make its hay in terms of playing with a lead, you need guys like Aiden Hutchinson healthy. You need their corners to be and stay healthy. And so that's going to always be the key for this Detroit Lions team, because if this team can stay healthy, they were my Super Bowl pick coming out of the NFC, and I believe they have all the makings to do that. However, they have to stay healthy.
Yeah, and Aiden Hutchinson, to your point, it feels like the last 2 weeks or so, the Browns, the Bengals, we've been seeing him kind of come to form more so coming off of that injury. So certainly hoping that health is in their future. If we get to the Packers, they were one of the two teams in this division that was on a bye. But, of course, your question has to do with the timing of said bye, Rand.
And typically in the NFL, you hate the early bye.
Yeah.
You absolutely hate it, because after this Week 5 bye, look how many consecutive games they have to play in a row.
Yeah.
Right? But my question for the Green Bay Packers was, did this bye come at the right time? And I say that come at the right time because if you look here at the schedule, you're coming off of a Week 3 loss to the Browns and then a devastating Week 4 tie to the Dallas Cowboys. And typically we all say, hey, we need to reset, let's go back to the drawing board. And typically that happens through the course of a week where you're trying to prepare for another opponent. Whereas this Week 5 bye now gives you the ability to work on you, focus primarily on you. The coaches get to go back and look and go through all the games. The players get to do the same, and the players get a chance to just get away for a little bit and clear their heads, get their bodies right. And then now you're going to also start to see a lot of their playmaking wide receivers getting ready to start coming back, get their practice windows opening, which now gives Jordan Love his full complements of weapons.
So are you kind of a fan of that situation? Because if I'm looking at that too, I'm kind of like a loss, a tie.
This just happened to work out for the Green Bay. Typically, no.
Yeah.
I would never want. For me, it's always let's do the Week 8, Week 9 bye. Okay. Right, halfway point. We can reset. Let's get through 8 games, or give me one of those later buys. Right. Because then now that allows you to get ready for playoff football, and you know what that push is going to be. So give me the Week 8, Week 9 bye or a later bye. This just so happened to work out for the Packers. That Week 5 bye, trust me, no one in the NFL wants it.
And they're coming off that bye. You see it there, Week 6, and then facing the Bengals. If we go to the Vikings, they're coming off of a win in London. Carson Wentz is 2-1 as a starter for the Vikings this season. So what are your questions for Minnesota?
This one's a little spicy.
Okay, we love
this
spicy
was a
questions,
little spicy.
takes.
Is there a scenario where you stick with Carson Wentz as a starting quarterback?
Even if JJ is healthy?
Even if JJ is healthy. If you look at some of the stats, and I don't have them off the top of the dome right now, but the offense in terms of yards per game, points per game, all of these numbers are up with Carson Wentz as opposed to where they were. I think they were a bottom third offense with J.J. McCarthy. And you kind of expected some of this, right?
Yeah.
In my opinion, he's still a rookie quarterback because he didn't play last year and he's coming off of an injury. But Carson Wentz, again, has history in this offense. He played with the Rams, and we know KOC came from the Rams. So there's some similarities there in terms of concepts. So is there a scenario where you stick with him? You see here, because they had the back-to-back games overseas in Ireland and then England, you get the bye, and then now you have a gauntlet because you got to come out of the bye against the Eagles and then a quick turnaround, and you got to fly across country to play against the Chargers in LA and then back on the road at the Lions. And then we'll see where the Ravens are at that point, and then division games, Bears, Packers, then Seahawks, Commanders. Like, this is a gauntlet schedule, right? And so at that point, either the true Carson Wentz will stand up, and we'll see what that is. But if he's still rolling, is there a scenario where you stick with him at quarterback?
Sure, and our good friend Pete Prisco likes to say, you are who you are.
You are who you are. Pete says that every week.
But I mean, Daniel Jones, we've seen it certainly change for a lot of different quarterbacks. Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, so we'll see. Finally, want to get to the Bears, Rand, because they are technically last in the division, sitting at 2-2, but it doesn't really feel like there's bad energy coming from this Bears. It feels very different, right?
Yeah, and so my question for them is, are we in position to take advantage of this momentum?
Yeah.
Right? Because we're starting to really feel like this offense is starting to click. We're starting to feel the maturation of Caleb Williams. And you saw, lost a close game early, right? And then the Lions did what the Lions did. They put up a 50-burger on them. But then you bounce back with 2 good wins, albeit against the Cowboys and the Raiders. And now you have the Week 5 bye. And then you have the Monday Night Football matchup against the Commanders next week. But again, you're coming off of 2 wins, and you have the Week 5 bye where you can self-scout and do some things, and now give Ben Johnson the opportunity to say, hey, through the first quarter of the season, this is who my team is, this is what we do well. Now we can have a week of no opponent, and we could draw up some things that we do well that is going to fit us. And now can they take advantage of having these back-to-back wins and carry that throughout the rest of the season?
And we're certainly going to have a lot of eyeballs on that Commanders game, looking towards the end of the game, the secondary. No flags, hopefully, out there. We'll see what happens.
Listen, my man, my young fella Tyreek, I know you learn from it, and you'll be more prepared this time. You'll be locked in, and hopefully, if it comes to that situation, Tyreek, you'll come down with the pick this time.
Exactly. That is what the fans are hoping for. Rand, we certainly appreciate it. Joining us.
Great. We certainly do here on CBS Sports Network. You might be telling yourself, isn't it October? Isn't the draft in April? Isn't it way too early to do a mock draft? No, it's right on time. Thanks for tuning in and watching our mock draft. And let's welcome in our friends Ryan Wilson and Mike Renner here to take us through that first round mock. Guys, I'm going to do my best impression of Roger Goodell. Please do not boo me, though. But let's start at the top with the number 1 overall pick, the Jets. Smaller athlete being picked at number 17. Vikings get USC wide receiver Makai Lemon, Jaden Mayava's favorite target. But why is he one of your favorite wide receivers, Ryan?
So I ended up watching Makai Lemon a few weeks ago prior to the Illinois game, and then he decided to make sure everyone in the country knew exactly who he was. And you might say, do the Vikings need a wide receiver? They have a ton of guys whose contracts are going to be up at the wide receiver position. Yes, they still have Jordan Addison and JJ, but you can never have enough weapons, especially for a young quarterback like JJ McCarthy. Makai Lemon plays primarily inside, but you can move him around. He wins at all 3 levels. He's run away from guys on man routes and underneath stuff, running away from guys on vertical routes. He has return ability, and I think he's made a name for himself in terms of landing on the radar this fall. We weren't talking a lot about him over the summer for sure, and I just love the explosiveness with which he plays, and I think that's what's going to translate from college to the next level, where he's going to start as a number 3 and not be required to take the heavy workload that a number 1 or number 2 might be expected to on day 1.
Yeah, you were hoping he would fly under the radar. He'd come in with this early take, and then he just exploded on the scene. That's how this thing goes sometimes. Still a lot of football left to be played in this season. Let's go to number 18. The Seahawks will select time to remind people that this is Ryan Wilson's mock draft. Love getting Mike Renner's feedback, though. Let's remind you of the picks 15 through 20. Another quarterback off the board, Jaden Mayava to the Steelers. His favorite playmaker, Makai Lemon to the Vikings. And death, taxes, and Ohio State wide receiver going in the first round.